Good morning. It's 6:21 a.m. on is this working? Yes. It's Friday, March 11th, 2016. I'm Christiana Ellis and I just got up. This is 5 more minutes. Woo! I don't know where that came from. Uh so what I thought I'd talk about today is something I was thinking about because the new Captain America Civil War movie trailer came out yesterday, and it has many awesome things in it. In addition to, I'll just go ahead and say it. Spider-Man shows up in it. I think that's kind of becoming common knowledge now. But I'm very happy about that, and I even though we only just get a glimpse of him, I like the handling of the characters so far in the trailer. So that's fun, and the movie looks very interesting and exciting. But I was thinking about it and how, of course, that movie has hero versus hero. Everybody's taking sides. And then, the other major superhero movie, the next big one coming is Batman versus Superman. And then in the comic book universe, there's also Civil War 2 is coming up. And I saw a preview where it suggests that, like, Miss Marvel. Lena, what are you doing? She had some sort of a, like, plastic bag. Uh, Miss Marvel would actually choose a different side than Captain Marvel, and I'm a little concerned because they're setting up Captain Marvel as one of the heads of the two factions, and I just felt like I didn't like how that went for Tony or Captain America in the first Civil War. So I guess what I my question is like, why do these superheroes need to be fighting all the time? I mean, it's there's a grand comic book tradition of having the heroes, um, be turned against each other. But I like, I feel like I just don't like that as much as a lot of other people do. I guess I just feel like I'm not saying you can't tell a story where that happens. I mean, especially if you have a situation where it makes perfect sense that two groups would react differently to an external threat, say. For example, in Avengers versus X-Men, there was a whole deal where um, people had a variety of different responses to an impending external threat in the form of the Phoenix Force. And so it makes some sense that there would be differences there, even though I think even in that one, just so often all of these stories, in order to exist, rely on the characters acting uncharacteristically. And that bugs me. And also just I feel like I'm just more interested in stories where people who normally wouldn't agree decide to team up against something. I'm more interested in that than in ones where friends just can't solve their differences and decide they have to fight each other. Again, I'm not saying you can't tell those stories or that they can't be good, but why is it so ubiquitous? And that bothers me a little bit. Not to mention the fact that um, some of the best, most interesting, iconic characters in comics or in any kind of a movie can be the villains. When you have a great, charismatic villain, they're really interesting and it adds a lot to the story, and you rob yourself of that when you force your characters to be opposed to each other. Although I suppose you can still have you can have the classic form of, oh, the heroes fight for a little while and then they have to team up to deal with the real threat. Seems clear that that's what's going to happen in Batman versus Superman, at least. But I just although even as I say that, I recognize that one of the things that to the extent that you can fault the Marvel movies for something, I think it's in a lack of a really compelling bad guy. Loki's great. I can't really think of any of the other bad guys in any of the Marvel movies that I thought was especially interesting. You know, they're not necessarily terrible, but like Nebula and Guardians of the Galaxy was pretty good. You know, and Ronan had his moments, but Thanos is like so far he's still very mysterious, but he hasn't really done anything yet. So, you know, will he stay interesting once we actually see him doing things? Because his comic book thing is weird, so I'm not sure how they're going to handle that in the movies. Not like so. Other than, you know, I'm just trying to think of all of the different villains that we've had in the other Marvel movies, and they're not great. So that's something that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has struggled with. And I think part of that may just be this idea of trying to have it be feel more grounded and realistic. It makes it more difficult for them to have these big, larger than life villains like Doctor Doom and stuff. I don't know. Anyway, I guess the sum total of all of this is that I still plan to see all of these movies and read a bunch of the comics in the Civil War too. But I sort of feel like the trope of making the heroes fight each other is not one of my favorites, and I'm a little bit disappointed that it's kind of everywhere right now. That said, yay, Spider-Man's in the new trailer. And Ant-Man rides an arrowhead, and Black Panther's just shrugging off bullets like it's nothing. Very cool stuff. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow for 5 more minutes.